When we change our mindsets, we can change our outcomes. Save our lives from sadness, depression, and anxiety, thus giving us the freedom to live the life we want. Hi, I'm Stuart Haskin, founder of GetSafe, and your host of the Movement for Change podcast.
Hi, I'm with Dr. Nina Cash today. We're going to be talking about sexual assault and recovery. Very heavy subject, but a very important subject. So please join us.
All right, welcome back to the podcast, Movement for Change. I have a repeat guest, which I'm very honored to have, Dr. Nina Cash. I'm going to have her tell you a little about her educational background, just in case you missed our first episode.
Thanks
Dr. Cash?
Yeah, thanks for having me, Stu. Again, my name is Nina Cash. I've been a volunteer for GetSafe since 1999. Can't believe it's been about 26 years, 25 years. Yeah, it's been
Makes
wonderful.
me sad when we count the numbers.
Exactly right. So I have an undergraduate degree in human services, a master's in negotiation, conflict resolution, and peace building. I have a doctorate in educational leadership with an emphasis on higher education and adult learning. I have a mediation certificate, and I also am a state certified advocate for survivors of sexual and violent assaults.
Well, I'm a little disappointed because it's been a little time since our last, maybe like an hour since our last podcast, and you haven't got a second doctorate. But okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, well, so obviously a wealth of knowledge where we need it. And I think today we want to talk about crisis intervention and recovery because the first episode was on prevention. So any thoughts you want to kick off?
Yeah. So, I've been volunteering for your organization for many years. And one of, well, there's been a lot, which is very sad, but one of assaults that has stuck out in my mind was we had a woman who was assaulted by her gym, her trainer. Yeah, she belonged to this gym for a few years, and there were some trainers there. Then she got this trainer. Well, let's just call him Bill, okay? Right. And she built a great rapport with Bill, and then she had him come to her home to train her. And for a year and a half, 2 years, he was training her at home. And then one day, Bill tied her up, beat the heck out of her, saran wrapped her to a chair on her, I think it was her bedroom on her her bed was on the second story, and left her for dead, pretty much, put a sock in her mouth, did the duct tape, and then also saran wrap, which was really weird to me, the whole saran wrap thing, and then left her for dead. She had such a strong spirit that she was able to hobble herself in that chair and fling herself out of that second story window. And she landed in her backyard when luckily her neighbors found her. So needless to say, that is trauma upon trauma upon trauma.
Yeah, the other variable there was her son was at home and kept saying, I'm going to kill your son if you do anything.
That's right.
And this woman who, I won't even use her name right now because she is a pending guest on the podcast, but she has turned into this incredible advocate in the world. So life is weird, right? It took her from, and I won't share all of her story, but it took her from, doing work in the community, like food services and different things, to this place where she works with thousands of victims of violent crime. So yeah, that shows you the spirit, right? And we've seen incredible ones there, but part of that is what happens, right? Mm-hmm. We talk about prevention. We're talking about watching our surroundings, and everything goes on. But if something trips us up, and maybe sometimes there's circumstances you can't do anything about. Mm-hmm. And let's go if there's a sexual assault and on campus, what's the first thing you do? First thing you do, right, is you make sure you're in a safe place. Mm-hmm. You make sure you call 911. This is the hard part. We always tell people, don't shower, don't change your clothes. And actually your husband just sent me a TikTok of someone talking about what the cops did to them. So we work with cops on how to address things, how to front load, because the typical question is, what were you wearing?
Yeah, I know.
And as a survivor, right?
It's not, irrelevant at this point.
Well,
it's not irrelevant, but...
To them, it's irrelevant. Yeah. To the survivor, they feel like they're being victim blamed, right? Well, you think it's my fault that this happened? Right. And it's not. They're building a case, which we try to explain, because hundreds of times in our workshops, this has come up. Well, they were asking me this, and I go, they weren't blaming you. They have to build and color in a case so they know. And I know how it sounds, but it's the law enforcement's obligation, the investigators, to explain why I'm asking this. Right. I'm going to ask you a question. It's going to sound terrible, but it's something I need for my reports. And
can I interject one thing real quick, Stu? So SART, which is the Sexual Assault Response Team, and I did start, you certainly did start in my community of Long Beach and Orange County. Do they still have SART? Because I haven't heard that lately.
Yeah, they do. They do. But it's counties, right? It's county specific. So who has the funding, who cares enough to have it, but it's an important case. And, we have a agency in our world with Waymakers, they're advocates that go right out there and they give the survivor some hope in a sense, because they're so overwhelmed and they're in the hospital bed. And so those are the things that we hate to have to say, don't change your clothes. You want to burn them. Right. You want to shower. You want to just forget the whole thing had happened. But so the next step, that is kind of that crisis intervention. Then you find a therapy, right? You look for a therapist, a specialized organization, kind of like ours, what we work with recovery. But then you get to the recovery mode, correct? UCI, University of Irvine.
California
Irvine.
Okay, got to go to California.
Has the care team. So they're very good, strong team. That therapist named Mandy Mount started, and it's a great work, and we work hand in hand with them. But the thing is so many people go into, and people who go into fix it mode. They do everything except for address the actual assault. Oh, this shouldn't have happened. I'm going to sue the store manager. I'm going to get more alarms. But that's okay. What you want to do, and that's taking control. But part of it is addressing what had happened, because it will come back out.
Definitely. And the reason why I bring up the SART, and I didn't mean to cut you off, is because the SART team is really good at being an advocate for the survivor, and then also letting them know why the police are doing certain things. So the SART team works along with the police officers, right, and the sheriff's department and folks of that nature, in terms of helping the survivor feel a little bit more comfortable, and so that the survivor doesn't have to tell their story 500 different times to 500 different people, right? We want to be able to comfort them and support them and have them just tell their story once. So it'd be really nice to see other agencies implement the SART if they haven't, or if they had to, for whatever reason, funding got short. If we can find people to volunteer like you and I did, that would be really wonderful to have that support. So a lot of, I'm not just going to say women, because this happens to men too. Again, they go into that whole, I'm going to take control. So they go into, okay, I got to figure out, who did this? Okay, well, I'm renting an apartment, so the landlord didn't fix that gate over there. If that gate had the lock on it, then or whatever the case may be. And then they don't address really the act or what happened to them. So kind of tell us what, would be helpful for someone who is at that point now where they've done all the legal stuff in terms of speaking to the lawyers, the police, their landlord, whatever the case may be. Now they're in that point where they need to recover.
Yeah. And when we call it, because there's a level of freedom that was taken away from you, correct? And we talk about going from fear to freedom, because we have many individuals who won't leave the house.
Yeah.
They're scared to go outside. And we have testimonies saying, I'm able to go outside again, because you don't know, again, when we said in the earlier episode, what you don't know. So we can help them walk through those situations. We've had recovery classes where everyone was crying. The participants, the counselors in the room that were aiding, and I like it. It sounds creepy, but it's called Tears of Empowerment.
Yeah.
I'd rather have you cry in this safe space.
Right.
And then you have more to take to your therapist.
Right.
But that's where your healing begins. When you start realizing that, this guy who's 6'3" came up behind me, which would be me in class, freaked the crap out of me. I didn't even know. Yeah. That wasn't even part of the assault, but it just scared me. And it's okay, because it's a very safe environment. But we have to, I'd rather have you break down in our class than at Starbucks or at the grocery store, where all of a sudden, where'd this come from? Something triggered me. Right. But it's in some, it's a long road, some it's a short road, but there are so many great professionals out there that are there to lend a hand.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, you see it in every culture too. I mean, I remember teaching a group of Hispanic women and saying, hey, if someone's an abuser, you just need to leave them. And then right away I thought, they don't have the opportunities that a lot of us have. They weren't English speaking. Some of them didn't have green cards. So where are they going to go?
Where are they
right?
going to go? Exactly.
So the only thing I could say is lean on your support and help them. They will help you move through it. So, but yeah, I mean, you've been in the supportive role. Even when you've seen it when we were in classes, we see it in the individuals with disabilities, developmental disabilities population they're assaulted. That's the highest level of assault.
It's the highest, and 10 times, right? The re-victimization is 10 times more than the quote unquote normal person, which is really, really sad. I just want to take a step back in terms of the classes too, because a lot of, I'm going to talk about women right now. So if they were assaulted by a male, it's kind of weird to think that they're going to go to your class and now you, a male, are going to train them, right?
Yeah.
But what are your thoughts on that?
That's a very good question, because we get that a lot. I just had someone say, "Hey, why are these two white males teaching in this group?" And I go, "Well, here's the deal." And there's, one of the big sexual assault centers here is a very big advocate of what we do, because you are most likely, and we're talking about women sexually assaulted by a male, right? Mm-hmm. You may have had a comforting cop, or maybe not had a comforting cop. Maybe male, maybe female. How is the doctor there? Next, all the recovery goes into the female world, right? Your therapist female, your advocate's female.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Where's the resocialization with males? Mm-hmm. That's the thing that's missing, right? Because we're going to, once you leave your recovery, you're going to meet males. And if you're uncomfortable around males, so we give them an opportunity to, call it decent males who are there to help them. So they open up more, and I worked in it was an emergency shelter. I went to go teach, and we did an assessment beforehand. And these were all domestic violence survivors that were on the run, right? Emergency shelter. And on the assessment, I reminded every individual in that room of their attacker. And then when they got to know me, their attacker turned out to be 4'2", blonde hair, 7'6", so nothing remotely like me, but I was a male, right?
Right.
And I would always start off, after we build a rapport. I think those are the things where we are pretty good at building a rapport. And so once we got their attention, it came out, and I said, "Listen, one day you guys, some of you want to date again." They're all, "No way, never again," But we're looking at trying to break the cycle, so you're not in the same cycle, and understanding and asking a male question. I worked with a therapist who would have me come in and talk to the teen girls because the girls were being pressured for sex. And, "Well, he said this." And I go, "All right, let me tell you what the guy's thinking, because we pretty much know guys." Yeah. And so that's the blend, right? Mm-hmm. And it's kind of unconventional, but we've have
so much success.
Yeah, with it, right? Yeah. And that's part of it's important. So, okay. So, yes. But anyway, let's take a moment.
Okay.
We're going to do our break. And our sponsor. Anything before we go?
No.
All right, cool. We are going to take a break.
I love the word empowerment. It means the granting of power or authority to perform various acts or duties. Empowerment is a word full of strength, capability, and hope. Empowerment to me is one of the keys to prevention and to the elimination of social barriers that allow violence to flourish.
Domestic violence is never okay, no matter if they have a medical condition or not. You always have the right to defend yourself.
Empowerment gives each and every one of you the authority to intervene in situations that seem somehow wrong, not by putting yourself in danger, but by making a phone call or distracting the abuser, always aware of your own safety.
Every girl should be confident in their skin and feel empowered to fight back. And it's not only something that females should learn, but that everybody should be aware of, but particularly in cases of domestic violence. It can happen to anyone.
I especially hope that you leave these rooms empowered.
Hi, welcome back with Dr. Nina Cash, I'm going to call her my co-host. All right. So what did you have next?
Oh, okay. So, you talked about individuals with developmental disabilities, and you know that I worked with that population. I've been lucky enough to work with that population. Yeah. Since 1984. And one of the things when I started to volunteer for GetSafe is that this was a population that really there was no really resources for them in order to be proactive in the safety space. And so you and I kind of worked on creating some training for them. And one of the things that we did, which I'm very proud of, and I'm happy to talk about it right now, is when we did some training for both that population, but also SACA, which is the Sexual Assault Crisis Agency at this time of Long Beach. And I was a board member at the time. So we're talking, this was what? 1999, 2000?
Yeah, I think around 2000 because I do remember SACA. What happened? SACA got a grant for persons with developmental disabilities, and they tried to run one workshop, but because of our vast knowledge, they brought us in, which was very wise, and we collaborated on the training. Right,
because what was happening is that, back in the days, guys, when there was rotary phones and not cell phones, they would get a lot of crank calls, sadly. A lot of, places like SACA would get crank calls. And so it was hard for the volunteers or staff at SACA to discern which was a real call and which was like a prank call. So we came in and we talked about, the IDD population and what calls could be like. Now, let's go to when I worked for the Long Beach Unified School District, and I worked at elementary school. Well, it was actually an adult school. It was called Florence Nightingale. It's not called that anymore, but it was for students with intellectual and developmental disabilities. And what was happening is one of the students, who was 21 at the time, she was stating that the bus driver was touching them. And at the time, if we're going back to 1999, 2000, people weren't taken seriously, you guys. It's really sad, but they weren't taken seriously. So you and I went out and we did some training for those classes, and we talked to them about, their voice and what they were feeling and the boundaries of their bodies, and, keep telling until someone hears you. If something's going on and somebody doesn't believe you, tell the next person. Well, guess what? They called SACA. SACA listened. They did all the research, did everything they needed to do, because come to find out that bus driver was actually sexually assaulting the students, the female students, on the bus ride to and from school. And what was the end result, Stuart?
Well, the middle result was they were able to advocate for themselves, because that population is told, you listen to your bus driver, you listen to your teacher, you listen to your caregiver. So they lose all sense of what I'm allowed to say and not say. But, with your help, we were able to teach advocacy, how to stand up for yourself and tell someone else. And SACA, they're a great group, but they didn't know, right?
They didn't know. They didn't have the training. That's okay.
A dispatch, 911 dispatch course that we talk about this too, because so many times they were dismissed because it sounded like you're on drugs or alcohol, because you're slurring and can't speak. Mm-hmm. And I remember a lady who fell in her wheelchair and called 911 3 times to have fire come out and get out there and help them. And finally, because it was off the hook, they came, and I think she was able to kind of say where, and they came, and I joked with her. I go, "You just wanted the handsome fireman." And she laughed, but she couldn't get through. Right? Dispatch wasn't taking her seriously, so we're definitely adjusting that. But yes, I remember and you were around when we first got into the helping this population on a larger scale. People were, "Oh, we can't tell them that because things are going to happen." It's no. You're finally going to hear what is going on out there.
Exactly.
And that's what we want.
My gosh.
That power to say first. I mean, we've had a lady going into her board and care, and all of a sudden the care workers here are yelling, "Back off, back off, back off." And then some guy was trying to get her in the car.
I know.
And then they came running out, and the car took off. I mean, we have so many successes.
Yeah. Well, let's interject what that back off is.
Okay.
This is one of the things that we teach everyone to use those words, even the little kids. Back off, back off. Yeah, you could yell fire and different things like that, but when you hear back off, we tend to believe that people will come to and render aid more so when they hear that term back off. Or
it's part of the using your voice, correct?
Exactly.
And then older crowds or whatever, we always tell people, no matter who they are, you can change the letters up. whatever you want to draw attention.
Not back off.
So those are the
just
things.
change the first two letters, the B and the A.
Yeah,
You can see the C and the K.
Use your imagination on this. But yes, we want to be loud and clear. And you said fire. Fire is a good tool because it involves everyone, right? When you yell help, which you would think would be good, but people don't want to get involved.
Right.
Fire, my stuff's going to get burnt too. So I'm very cognitive, like I'm going to call some help if I hear fire. Yeah. But it was just giving that voice, right? Our obligation in the world, at least GetSafe, is to help those find their voice who don't have it or who lost it, or be the voice of those who don't have it. And we do that over and over. And, we're pretty fortunate. We have some amazing caseworkers and trainers and admin that just care so much about each population to make sure they have the opportunity to live safe, violent-free life, correct? So those are the things that we're happy with. But yeah, you've played an intricate part. I mean, you remember the group trainings, the 20, 30 yelling back off and smiling, and so we continue to do that, which is we're very supportive of a lot of agencies out there now that want, and we're doing statewide stuff. And
do you remember the one gentleman? Again, I can't remember his name, but his family came and thanked us because he was such a lovely young man. And, they loved going to Vegas. His family loved going to Las Vegas, but he would get these predators, I'm your friend, buddy. I'm your friend. And then they would take his money. Yep. And he would, they're just being nice to me. They want to be my friend, but he didn't understand boundaries. And so we taught him about boundaries and who's your friend and who's not your friend. And his family was very appreciative of us for doing that. Because we do a lot of scenario training, right? We just don't talk to them. It's not like we're giving a lecture like in at school or
any of us.
No,
but
we do hands-on
that
training,
group in Palm Springs. You were there.
Yeah,
they were talking about the sexual aspect, right?
Yes.
Hey, I'll be your friend if you have sex with me. Yes. That's male, female, male, and so we would just talk about that. How that doesn't indicate a friendship. That means someone's trying to take advantage of you. And we've had I'm going to go with neurotypical people in the field that go out there and take advantage of this population. There was just, sadly, I just read a report or a news article today that 4 high schoolers sexually assaulted a female individual with developmental disabilities in a Starbucks bathroom. I mean, those are the things that, which has grown our program, teaching law enforcement throughout, we're a lot throughout the state of California, but we're also in many other states. Yeah. Giving officers the tools on how to interact, because they want that. They want to know how they can help, because the majority of law enforcement is there to serve, and they want to help. And that's, if we can teach them how to connect with someone who, you look at people on the spectrum of autism, they communicate differently. Right. But it doesn't have to be our way or no way, let's each learn each other's languages.
Well, I always say, as long as you give people the tools, give them the information, because when you know better, guess what? You do better. Yeah. Thank you, Maya Angelou, for that, right? You know better, you do better. Yes, she did.
Because I just wrote that in a newsletter. I was saying, hey,
you need to quote her.
I just say, hey, cops want the tools to be better at what they do. They want them. And we do it in a simple, easy term to learn, because cops have a difficult job. They have to do so much learning. They have to work with sexual human trafficking, DUIs, you name it. They're doing with everything. So we try and make sure it's a simple process that they can communicate and be there as a resource. And those are things that we're seeing pay off for sure, because there's a lot of violent encounters.
And we were just talking to someone yesterday that we're looking at the airlines, right? They're it's I don't want to say sad, but right now, anybody in a kind of a service position or employment, they have to be aware of everything now, right? So it's not just like a specialty here and there. It's like they need to have tools for different scenarios just to make themselves feel safe too, and also dealing with the public. So yes, we train police officers, we train teachers, we train companies, we train, God, we're everywhere. And
like you were saying about the airlines, they're bringing on people with developmental disabilities, which is awesome. But we also have to teach management how to communicate, right? How to make sure that, because we've seen a lot of abuse and manipulation by neurotypicals, by taking advantage of the individual. And also, but it's a systemic change thing, right? We just don't teach management, we just don't teach cops. We work with families how to articulate a phone call to the law enforcement so they know what they're going into. We teach the actual person with a developmental disability how to communicate with law enforcement to help them, hands out of the pockets, give them a card to let them know that you may be struggling to communicate with them.
Right.
This helps overall, right? Because our ultimate goal, especially in this population, is so they feel they can live in a world that we live in, and they can be safe, right?
Right.
So that it's everything. It's changing the mindset, changing the outcome through communication, connection, and safety, and that's what we're trying to do.
And I think in another podcast we'll dive deeper.
Yeah,
Definitely.
for sure.
I would love to, because that's
these are drive time ones, right?
Yeah,
so
exactly.
We'll do a 4-hour one today. But no, I appreciate it. I definitely want to have you back.
Yeah.
If your modeling career allows it. But we appreciate it. Good luck.
For sure. You can't get rid of me, okay? I've been doing this for 25 years, so I'm here to stay.
Well, good luck with the future ventures, and we're looking forward to seeing it on social media. And I don't know if you have any hashtags or websites you want to throw out.
I'm not, by the way, thank you for bringing that up, because I'm not fancy like that. I'm still learning all this technology, even this podcast stuff. Thank God you have the experts, because I'm like, I don't know. But it's just Nina Cash, at Nina Cash. Yeah,
all right,
my
cool.
Instagram. So
all right.
All good.
Well, thank you guys, everyone. Be safe. Appreciate it. And we'll see you the next time.
Bye.
Hi, thank you for joining us today. If you or someone you know is a survivor of a sexual assault, remember, you're not alone. Please look at the links below for resources, and be safe.
Thank you for tuning in to our podcast, Movement for Change. We hope that our discussion has left you with new perspectives and insights that can help you change mindsets and save lives. Please visit us at getsafeusa.com for resources, trainings, and if there's a topic you want to hear about or you have questions, please email us at info@getsafeusa.com. Together, we can make the change we want to see.